went to the bank, and this young lady was standing there, and she was witnessing. She asked me if I believe in God. I said, yeah, I believe in God, but I'm only interested in one thing, second coming.
Wow.
And she said, oh, good. He's already here.
Dr. Jenkins, you are a force of nature, aren't you? You're very well known and loved by many. But I'd like to know where. First of all, welcome to the Peace Starts With Me podcast.
Thank you, Demian. I've really enjoyed the watching Peace Starts With Me podcast, and so I'm honored to be here.
And where does it begin? Where does your story begin with you?
Things started with me in terms of my life of faith. It started when I was a young 10-year-old, and our family went to church regularly, but not every Sunday. But there was faith in our home, and I had an experience with God directly, personally. I watched The Song of Bernadette. It's a movie of a young girl that had a vision and experience with Mary, Mother Mary. And the whole community and all the church turned against her. And this was centuries ago. They turned against her, and it was just really severe persecution. Finally, she was vindicated, and she became really a saint. And that would move me so much, but I was 12. And I remember after I watched that on television, I just went to my room, and I didn't do this every night, but somehow I felt to get on my knees with my hands like this, and I prayed to God, and I started crying because I felt so much empathy for this pure young lady, teenager, getting so much persecution. And I really had the experience of the living God, a comforting experience. And that affected me.
Through your prayer.
And then in the prayer, and then the heart, and remembering her story. What was interesting was it was I already believed in God. I believe in Jesus, but not experientially. It was kind of, I went along and felt good about it, but this never went away, that feeling. Oh. So that really had a big impact on me.
So from watching that movie, you're 10 or 12 years old.
Yeah.
Big impact. And how did that show up how did that change your behavior or your look on life from that age?
Well, I really had a very strong feeling about God in my life. My parents emphasized that, my father especially. But I felt that all through my life. But I made a lot of mistakes. God really needed to work on me because I was not so religious. And I was in an American high school and, was a very happy person, but also a little bit on the wild side.
Well, you have a lot of energy, right? You have a lot of energy that I can imagine. Young Michael Jenkins. So paint the picture there. Is it a big family, small family? Where did you grow up?
2 younger brothers.
Mm-hmm.
We grew up in Dayton, Ohio area, and then moved to Centerville, which is a suburb of Dayton. And my younger brothers are twins. And we have, really, really good experience as a family. Went on wonderful vacations across the country. Mm-hmm. And that was really wonderful. What happened later when I went to college, it was around the time of Jesus Christ Superstar.
Yeah.
In that era.
Yeah.
And it was like also the whole idea of the second coming.
Yeah.
Was really kind of in the culture everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
There were books about the late, great planet Earth, Hal Lindsey, the end of the world type scenario. So I just felt like I really cared about that. So I went to some Bible studies when I was in college, undergraduate, and I didn't like it. I didn't like the Bible studies. I felt like they were sincere, but I just felt like this is not me. They're praying for very they're praying in a nice way, but they're praying for their cats and they're praying for their family, which is beautiful. But just somehow I didn't feel it was really rooted. So
It's
anyway, I kept
interesting
searching around.
because you're sort of you're commenting on how the culture was touching you. I mean, through the movies, through both these movies, and these types of ideas, books and movies. But when you went to Bible study, you felt there was a disconnect between what you were being attracted to.
Yeah, and it wasn't the Bible. It was just the expression of faith that those people had.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with them. They were good Christians.
But it wasn't the answer you were looking for.
No. So then what happened, I wasn't really searching as far as I knew, but I met a person that we had in last year of the university. I had moved to a private apartment, and there was a person there that was a Bible expert. Mm-hmm. And I met him, we became friends, and he took me through so many sections of the Bible that I didn't know. And I learned so much. And then I became more sincere and more interested to study the Bible. And the Amplified Bible came out, and that helped clarify some things, but some things it over-clarified. Then I went to dental school at Ohio State. I wanted to be a dentist. My whole life, I felt that was the way to go. I love science. I love medicine.
I mean, was your father, was this sort of the family trend?
Totally
Doctors,
family
dentists?
trend, because my father had worked in industry, and he said, you don't want to do that, son. You got to get out there, and become a medical professional, and you'll be rich, and you'll be happy, and you'll be, that kind of feeling. You'll be married. Everything will be great. So I just always didn't feel a problem with that.
So did you start dental school, or
Yeah, I did.
So you started dental school.
I got accepted to Ohio State Dental School, went there and did very well. I was happy. But then one night I was sitting in the apartment. I shared an apartment at Ohio State with another dental student, and we had separate rooms. And I was studying one night, and I looked up, and all of a sudden I noticed that all my medical books and science books, as students of medicine know, you wear the covers off. You almost break them down because you're reading so much. It's like endless study, super study, and memorization. And I looked up one night and I noticed there was one book I never pulled down to look at. It was the Bible.
Interesting. So all the other books are scruffy, but there was one pristine book, sort of untouched.
Pristine, yeah. Really clear that it was untouched.
Interesting.
So that night I pulled it off of the shelf, and I read Genesis, and I read Revelation. And I got inspired to read the front and the back. So you could say I read it cover to cover. But
in one night.
Yeah. But I was very moved by the stories of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, all that. But also I was very shocked about the second coming. That's what I was interested in. So I read Revelation, and it was shocking because, it said that the beast would come out of the sea and deceive the people. And the believers would be deceived. So I thought, how can that be? Why would people be deceived by a monster coming out of the ocean? I just I didn't make any sense. But anyway, I started to feel like, God, I don't want to miss the second coming. I don't want to be deceived. So I prayed that night with all my heart. It's just, for a second, I prayed, don't let me miss the second coming. And then the second part of the prayer got me in trouble because I said, God, if you need me, you can count on me.
Wow. All right. I really want to understand this because, first of all, you had probably, during the culture at the time, I mean, through high school, probably that was around the Vietnam War.
Yep.
So all of that was going on. And there was a lot of people looking, certainly, and you had these cultural, iconic movies coming out and stimulating you.
Yeah.
And then you're staying on track. You go to college, go to dental school. You're enjoying it, and then, but something's pulling you, right? Something
was pulling me.
So what made you? I mean, it's one thing to be intrigued, and to not, in a sense, you don't want to miss the boat. But then you finish with, God, if you can use me.
Yeah, it was just somehow.
Did you know what you were saying at the time?
Yeah,
Or
because I was feeling concerned. And there was a feeling in the atmosphere at that time that the second coming was going to occur. The last days.
Were there others? Did you? I mean, did
Yes,
you have friends
I had
that thought the
friends that
same
really.
way? You have these kind of conversations.
I had
it was
other
in the
friends that really felt this is the time. We have to get ready. And I also had another experience that really affected me, and this was in undergrad, last year of undergraduate school as a senior. With the Vietnam War is going on, Kent State murders occurred, and then I went to an anthropology class just to fill in some credits, and the anthropologist was teaching us that how does man learn and develop through the use of tools.
Okay,
and I said that's not true. It's not the use of tools. It was a totally materialist view.
I see, yeah.
So then what happened was in that class, I was invited to go to a rally against the Vietnam War from the anthropology class. And then,
really?
Yeah, when I got out there, there's 5,000 students gathered. It was very rough, very rough. And one of my classmates in the anthropology class was standing on the step of the up above and, protesting with a bullhorn, got everybody going. They started turning over police cars, and they used rubber bullets a lot at that time. And that's what happened at Kent State. Somebody had a loaded gun instead of rubber bullets. And,
Right.
And they were shooting a lot of the students and cars turning over. So I'm getting out of here. But I recognized it was a Marxist communist rally. I knew it. I could tell. And this is nothing to do with God. I knew it was wrong. So that struck me also. And then when I read that scripture that night in my apartment at the graduate school, Ohio State Dental School, I really felt like, something's happening here. So the next day, I came out of the anatomy lab and went to the bank because I had to pay somebody $12. And I never skipped a class ever, but somehow this idea came, I have to pay this $12. So I left in the middle of a class. It was a dissection class. So, I went to the bank and this young lady was standing there and she was witnessing. She was like 18 years old and she was from Germany. And, she asked me if I believe in God. I said, yeah, I believe in God, but I'm only interested in one thing, second coming.
Wow.
And she said, oh, good. He's already here.
Oh.
Well, I went in the bank. Okay, fine. I'll see you later.
Right.
She kind of didn't look normal to me.
Right.
And I came right back out and she was waiting by my bicycle. So she took me upstairs to a little office that was the Unification Church Witnessing Center above the bank. And I heard my first presentations there.
Oh, so you met the Unification Church. What year was this?
That's 1974.
1974, you met the Unification Church. This happens to be over. Is this the bank you usually use?
Yeah, it was right on High Street in Columbus, Ohio, right in the campus area.
You didn't tell me that you rode a bike.
Yeah, I had a really nice 10-speed.
Yeah.
Philandria was the name of the bike.
Philandria 10-speed.
Yeah.
For the bike enthusiasts, I'm sure they'll be grateful to know. And did you have a little basket on the front for your satchel?
No. No.
So is it like one of these?
Yeah.
A racer?
And around that area of southeastern Ohio.
That's how you get around.
It's all like the early stages of the Appalachians. So you can really do some beautiful rides.
Right.
So I really enjoyed that. So that was part of relaxation.
Were you also in sports in college?
Not in college, but in high school.
In high school.
Yeah.
So you really got serious with your studies. You knew something. So you felt something in society needed to change, clearly.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the way of the protests for you of the time. That didn't click. But even...
And it was a combination of them telling me that man learns and grows through tools.
Right. No,
the use of tools.
That plus
I felt that was, and then the invite to the communist rally.
Right.
And the turning over of police cars, which I never agreed with. I never thought that was acceptable.
That didn't attract you.
No.
But interestingly, also you mentioned that you went to church somewhat regularly. And you had this
growing
Bible
up in
study
high school,
experience.
But when I got to college, I wasn't going to church much.
Okay, but the sort of the anti or the counterculture didn't really pull you, but also the established options. I haven't heard you say anything about, I really wanted to, your Bible study experience or your church
It's an
experiences
interesting
at the
point.
time.
Yeah.
So the established option also wasn't answering what you were looking for. And so you cut class for the first time to go pay someone
Bill.
$12.
Yeah.
I mean, $12 back in 1974 is what, about $80 today?
Maybe 30.
$100? 30? Must be more than that. It wasn't a lot of money.
Right.
But you cut class and then you meet. So who was it that you met? This German lady. Do you remember her name?
Her name's Crystal. Very.
You said she didn't look normal. What do you mean?
Well, she had campaign buttons all over her,
What was the campaign?
for Madison Square Garden type buttons they were doing a tour across the country.
What was it called?
It was called Today Could Be Your Rebirth Day. That whole.
I see.
It was after Madison Square Garden.
I see.
Right after. So they were going to Chicago.
I see. So she was buttoned up, all buttoned.
Yeah.
And it looked too much to you at first?
Yeah, it was too much. It was clearly too much. I'm not, I didn't really. So it was obvious that it wasn't that attracted me. It was, or that her presence. She was nice, but the point was, she said, "Come upstairs."
Okay, so
I
you
went upstairs and I heard some of the principal taught. It was a very nice experience.
Mm-hmm. Were there lots of people?
I went up there. There was a room full of 30, 40 chairs, and I was the only guest. And they said, usually it's full.
Oh, that's a good line.
But I felt okay, and one of the ladies there taught the lecture, and Crystal was there with us, and I liked the lecture. It was about history. It was about the parallels of history, ending with the second coming. It was perfect.
Got your attention.
Yeah, I really said, I like this, because I knew a lot about history anyway. So I came out and they started saying, you got to come to the workshop this weekend. No. So I said, nope, I can't do that.
You're studying.
I've got to study. I've got an exam I've got 3 exams on Monday, and one's biochemistry. And there's no way, I've got to study. So they said, okay. And then a man walks out, the teacher. He didn't teach me, but he was there. His name was Reverend Sudo from Japan. Very nice gentleman. Mm-hmm. They said, you should go to the workshop. I felt, like, no, I'm not going to the workshop. But then he said, you're a good man. If God needs you, can he count on you? That
got
was
your attention.
Big problem for me. That was a big problem. I left that night. I'm not going. And I rode my 10-speed back to my apartment. But I was thinking, why did I have to meet her now? I don't want to meet her now. I don't want to hear about this. But I knew nobody knew what I prayed to God the night before. God, if you need me, you can count on me. That's what really touched my heart, but I couldn't get away from it. So, and I said, okay, here's what I'll do. They called me again. You should come. It's so important. I said, okay, I'll go to the biochemistry professor and I'll see. I'll just tell her I'm going to take the exam later, which she never allowed. So I thought that'll protect me. I'm doing my best.
You thought she would, yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm doing my best to
conscience
fulfill
is clean.
this, but I'm safe. So I walk into her and she was known to not give permission. I just said to her in the worst way. I didn't try to make it work. I tried to make it not work. So I said, I'd like to go to a Bible camp this weekend and just study about God. So I'd like to take the exam maybe a week later. And she just looked up from her glasses and said, okay.
Wow.
And then I was really struggling because all my excuses.
Did you double check? I mean, are you sure? Did you?
No, I was shocked. I was so shocked. I didn't double check.
That's interesting.
I walked out the door and my feeling was, why am I, I'm getting trapped here.
Yeah, definitely.
And I went to lunch with some of the other dental students and started sharing everything I had been through. And she goes, Mike, why do you care about this? You're in dental school. You've got to finish your dental school. You're going to be becoming a dentist.
Why are you going to a Bible camp?
Well, why? And they were normal people.
Yeah, sensible.
This episode of the Peace Starts With Me podcast is brought to you by our merch store. Check it out at peacestartswithme.com/collections. We have apparel and accessories for the whole family, including backpacks, pins, aprons, shirts, baby onesies and bibs, and more. Show your support and go to peacestartswithme.com/collections.
So then I went to the study for that weekend, and I really felt it was the way to go. I really felt deep in my heart, I'm being called by God. It's like you can't explain it. I felt it. So I came back and joined the movement.
Okay, we're going to go forward here, but I have to ask your opinion. You can have a room full of 100 kids in a similar kind of situation. What's the difference? Why do you think at 10 or 12 years old, something caught your attention? And then again and again, what is it about someone that from a room full of people can be pulled in a way that others don't find themselves? What do you think that is? What is unique about you or your background, or what would you attribute that to?
I think that it was really that I did have a personal feeling from that time I was touched after the Song of Bernadette. I had this personal feeling towards God. And I felt I didn't want to disappoint God. I felt that, and I still feel it. And, that helped a lot. I felt like nobody knew when I prayed. And I felt this wasn't happening by the efforts of just people alone, although they were critical to this process. I was there at the workshop in Cincinnati, Ohio. They had a second house down there at the campus there. That was their church. And everything about the workshop was strange to me because one of the elders came in, one of the leaders there. We didn't call them elders, but one of the leaders came in and said, okay, he named some sister there, and he goes, okay, Linda, your mission is the songbooks. And I'm going like, your mission is the songbooks? What? I felt very unusual. So after I was there, I loved the lectures, felt good about it. And then on Sunday morning, a whole group of people, I didn't know them, but they were college students. They were all leaving. And I could see the front window of the house was open. I mean, I could see through it. It was October. And the blackboard didn't cover the whole window. I could see under the blackboard.
So you could see outside.
And I saw them walking and getting in their car. And I thought, I wish I could be with them. Why can't I just go and get in that car and go home? But my heart was there. I could feel it. No, I don't really want to do that. I want to finish this study. That's what happened.
Amazing.
It was really, not easy.
So you're joining, what did you join? Did you join, was it a church?
Unification Church.
Did you join, was it, you
Unification
feel like you were
Church
joining a
of Ohio.
movement? What was what were you committing to at that time?
Well, at that time, there was a strong understanding about the tour of the God's Hope for America tour, and that whole thing about the second coming, was coming. That was really was in my heart. I could feel it. I could feel something's here that's not just a simple thing, even though things around me weren't attractive so much.
Right. So you weren't really attracted to the immediate environment.
No, not at all.
But you kept hearing Reverend Sudo's hand tapping on your leg saying, you're a good man. Can God rely on you?
Yeah. Can God count on you?
Can God count on you?
Same words. You can count on me, God.
Amazing.
And then his lectures were excellent, very moving. So, after the workshop's over, they sat me down and said, do you understand the fall of man? I said, yeah, it's excellent. I know. That's amazing teaching. She goes, what was the fall? I goes, the apple. They ate an apple. I understand it perfectly. So obviously I didn't understand, but it was still somehow resonating. And that's, it was great. It was great. Then we went on to Chicago, and it was a great experience.
So you joined the unification movement in 1974, and that's 50 years.
Yeah.
50 years. What
This
month
October.
was it? October.
October
Coming
22nd.
Coming up on your 50-year anniversary.
Yeah.
Are you gonna
The
celebrate?
Golden Jubilee.
So congratulations. That's a long. So did you imagine? I mean, did you see yourself where you are today?
Nope.
You know,
not at all.
You became the president of the unification movement in North America, but you've served in several roles. Walk us through, if you would, just a brief, timeline of where we've come to today through that experience.
Well, what was interesting was I always had a little bit of, I was given a little bit of room.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't.
Creative freedom?
Creative freedom.
What do you mean? Why would you say that? Are you saying?
Well, because
unusual?
I'm going to leave dental school. I'm going to
Right.
quit dental school, which is my life dream, my family's life dream. And my father and mother, I told them flat out, I'm going to go. I feel called by God. So where they gave me leeway, as Reverend Sudo said, yeah, go ahead. Go with your parents and discuss with them. So I drove back to Dayton with them. And my dad had a pastor there.
Mm-hmm.
Wanted to, really
He had prepared a
help
pastor
me.
to meet with you.
Yeah, longtime friend of our family. And he just, about an hour, he asked me Bible verse after Bible verse after Bible verse. And every verse he brought up, I knew. It was amazing because I don't know the Bible that well. And he announced afterwards to my father, Bill, you got to let him go. He's called by Jesus Christ.
Wow.
And then my father really had a hard time.
So that's
Really
not
hard
the
time.
answer he wanted to hear.
No.
And that's not a common story. That's not a common story.
No, but my parents respected it. That was amazing. My dad gave me a $20 bill. So, okay, son.
He gave you 20. Well, that was your that was what your inheritance.
That was to get me going on the road. So that was how it happened. And then from there, I became part of the family, the unification movement. I enjoyed being in there. We saw Father for the first time.
Tell us about that experience when you first
that was at the Airy
Father
Crown Theater in Chicago. September 12th could be your it was October something, could be your rebirth day.
That same
September
year?
12th I think was Madison Square Garden. Yeah, it was right from that we left for Chicago.
I see.
And Airy Crown Theater and big rally, and I saw Father for the first time. It was a great experience.
What was, describe it?
I was a security guard.
Had you done security
No.
before? So
No.
what was your job?
I was just, I was a football player, so I was qualified. So
You could tackle. So
Yeah.
what was your job? What
I was
describe
at the very
room?
back of the theater,
Uh-huh.
and a big theater, few thousand people.
Uh-huh.
And I saw, Father Moon, and it was really I felt good. I felt very good.
Well, describe it. What was your experience?
Well, his face was so bright, but it was like tan, and really, it felt very, warm. The whole experience was so warm, and I knew in my heart this was Jesus working. Jesus was there. I felt it clear as a bell. It's like but I had doubts. I had a lot of doubts after that experience. So that was wonderful. And then we were at the house the next morning.
Which house?
It was on Chicago, the old house. It used to be our church there. I forget the name of the road, but it was really nice. We were there. We gathered all over the stairways and everything. And he gave morning talk. I really liked it.
So that's with just a smaller group of
Yeah.
members. So in the
kind of the organizing team.
so the day before in the event.
It was Sheridan Roadhouse. Yeah.
So in the event though, the day before, that's like just guests, people have come in to hear.
Yeah. Maybe 50, 70 people were there.
Was there good music?
Huh?
Was there music?
Yeah.
There was music. And then
Yeah.
Father Moon gave a speech.
Yeah.
Now, did he speak from a script, or was it just freewheeling?
Freewheeling.
And he had an interpreter?
Yeah.
Or who was the interpreter at the time?
Colonel Hahn.
Okay, Colonel Hahn.
It was very nice. But before that, now I remember, you're helping me remember.
Good.
That for some reason I was in that gathering at the house, but there was like 200 people that had come to town to prepare for the event at Erie Crown Theater. And they had rented a whole motel out in the suburbs. So that's where I originally went. And my first experience, that's first experience where we come to Chicago and we go out, you know, we're on the streets, we're passing out leaflets and all that. And then we have a dinner with everybody there. And my person that introduced me to the movement, Crystal,
she's there.
She had me sit down for dinner, and there's all these people, all these 150 people or something like that. And some sister named Brunhilde sit down across from me, you know, and Crystal's very excited. He's a really good man. He's really going to be great and blah, blah, blah. And Brunhilde looks at me. He will never make it. Was my first.
He judged you.
Yeah.
He judged you.
He will never make it. I never forgot that. That helped me, I think. That made me a little
stimulated
more
a
committed.
challenge.
Yeah.
A little competitive edge.
Yeah.
You do have a little bit of a competitive edge, right?
You have to.
You have to. So, but I want to know, what was it that stood out? So you're in the event, and you're impressed with sort of Father Moon's demeanor, his brightness. You feel warmth. You feel Jesus in the room. He's guiding all of this. But was there anything that stood out about what he said, or the next day, perhaps, in the smaller meeting? What struck you about the message, if anything?
Everything about the message really fit my understanding of the second coming was occurring. Everything. And that America, I always felt my father was a veteran in World War II in the Philippines.
Okay.
And so everything about what he said made me feel hope for America, hope for the church, hope for America, hope for Christianity. And, you know, we were young people.
Looking for hope.
Right. It was the early 70s.
Right.
And I wasn't unhappy searching for something. I was very happy. I didn't want to leave the dental school. I wanted to be a dentist. I wanted to be rich.
You
and
were
happy.
content, but you knew that
something else was pulling
deeper
me.
that, right.
Yeah. So I felt confirmation that morning. It made me overjoyed. Really was a great experience, that it was a sure thing. Like, yeah, everything I'm doing here gets confirmation.
So what's the message, though, to you that stimulated you? What in the message gave you hope for America?
That this is the time of God's providence, and that God has chosen, a central person, Father and Mother Moon, and us were chosen to do the will of heaven, and it wasn't exclusive. It was, the whole thing was inclusive. We want everybody here. We want all the churches here. We want all the races here, and it was interracial. That was really nice experience.
Interracial, and you've got a Korean pastor preaching to Americans about America. How did that work?
Was great. It was great because we had a lot of Europeans there. So that was kind of an exciting experience. Yeah, so international.
And that's
many
unusual.
Americans.
That was unusual for that time for you?
For me, yeah.
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 And everyone else in the room as well?
Everyone else too, I think, pretty much. But it was everything reassured what I was feeling, that God wanted for America, that kind of thing. And then what happened was the team went on, and we were assigned to Indianapolis. And so we started actually working in a small community, bringing guests over and that kind of thing.
You were paired up?
Yeah. I mean, it was really nice. There was a nice little community there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Tom McDitt was there. Tom was one of the first people I met in Chicago, because he came in to orient us on how to go out and invite people.
And
he was the master.
He was good at bringing people in?
Yeah. He was also good at
taking care of them?
Educating everybody on the quality of what we're doing. He held up the leaflet.
Right.
That we were giving out. This is a precious leaflet. It was very beautiful.
So he'd hold the leaflet with two hands?
He did when he was showing it. He's never changed. He's gotten better and better. But anyway, Indiana, then suddenly this new thing happened, and it was everyone's being called to go to Berrytown, New York for 120-day training. And that's what, I was called to that. And all the world missionaries were going out. So people all had to go through a 120-day workshop. So I left Indiana, went to Berrytown and went through that 120-day workshop. But I was about halfway through the 120-day workshop, and suddenly they made a 40-day workshop for all the new people that were joining. The 120-day was really for the international missionaries, but
I see.
They made 40-day workshops, and the leader of the 40 days was Reverend Sudo.
And you recognize that man?
Yeah. So
Yes.
Reverend Sudo called me he should be a team leader.
Oh,
so
really?
Suddenly I'm a team leader, right?
So you're just a couple months, 2-3 months in right now.
November, December, January, maybe, January, just 3 months.
And did you have any idea, where you would be a year from then or 3 years from now?
No
I mean,
idea.
you've just
No
left
idea.
dental school. Somehow you've got your father's pastor's blessing, although your parents were uncomfortable with it.
Yeah,
But
it was rough
They
on
kind
them,
of.
but they
What about your
supported.
brothers, by the way?
They were too young to know.
They're too young to know what was going on. Okay,
Yeah.
so you're really going out into the fray.
I was 21 when I first met.
Did you have any idea where you'd be 3 years later, or
No,
because
no idea.
college, dental school,
Yeah.
you were in a pathway with the clearly defined, mile markers ahead of you. But now,
Yeah.
because you're talking about you go here, you go there. Now you're moving around. Did you have any idea what was coming next?
No idea, except I felt I was getting better. I was studying. I was learning the principle.
How did you
felt-
feel it was affecting you then, your character?
I felt, it strengthened me like the Bible.
Mhm.
It makes you stronger and clearer.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't worry about my immediate future or that
Okay.
kind of thing. But I was still a young guy.
Yeah.
Right? I was really a young guy. I wasn't really worried about my future.
Right.
I was I was thinking, like when I have some moments of doubt, which would come,
Yeah.
I think, well, there's a 7-year course they're talking about that's going to, from 1974 to 1981, there's a 7-year, it's the third 7-year course. And I thought, well, 7 years, I can do that.
I see. So
That helped me to see that
You
future.
you had something.
I'm gonna do the 7 years, and there was an idea then at the end of the 7 years, the whole world
work
would
would be done.
understand.
I
Yeah,
see. I see.
and I had this fallback position. It was gave me comfort. I said, well, if it doesn't all work out, there's a guitar there. I can learn to play guitar a lot better.
This episode of the Peace Starts With Me podcast is brought to you by our merch store. Check it out at peacestartswithme.com/collections. We have apparel and accessories for the whole family, including backpacks, pins, aprons, shirts, baby onesies and bibs, and more. Show your support and go to peacestartswithme.com/collections.
But anyway, that I knew the future. There was a 7-year period that we were going to go through. So, we
see.
went through that, and I learned a lot by being a team leader and that kind of thing. We had teams of 15, 20
any
people.
funny or impactful or big chat. What experience in those first few years really stands out?
Well,
for you?
the one thing that really affected me with Father Moon was he suddenly created the seminary right at that time, 1975.
Mhm.
He started initiating seminary. Everybody who was a college graduate had to apply. So I applied, and I saw the names of the people that were accepted. About 50 people were accepted. I thought, wow, these are some of the people I really respect.
Mhm.
My name wasn't on the list. So I thought, what's going on here? So I went to the people organizing the seminary, Dean Stewart and some others, and I said, why wasn't I on the list? Why wasn't I accepted? Am I too young or what? And no, we separated all the applications. Those who had a strong reason why they wanted to go got submitted to Father Moon. And those who didn't wrote simple things, we didn't let them even be considered.
Oh,
So my application, I wrote, if it's God's will, I'll go.
Oh, so that's not.
I said, well, so I wrote a letter directly to Father. I'm like, 6 or 7 months in the movement and 22 by that time, 22 years old. So I wrote a letter to Father directly. And I said, Father, I didn't understand how important this education is. And, I'm really determined to save America, whatever. Kind of, I don't know what exactly, but I do remember one thing I said. And that one thing I said is, I'm going to fast until I hear your answer.
Wow.
So I got, I'm so excited. The letter, and Dean Sir told me he got the letter. And okay, yeah. So I'm in my first day of fast, feeling kind of heroic, sacrificial. I'm king on the mountain. I'm going to help save the world. And first day was very exciting. Second day, I started to get very hungry and started to worry, wait a minute. So I kept going to the office. Did you hear anything yet? Did you hear anything yet? And then the third day, I'm no hero. I got too hungry and I started eating.
Do it.
About an hour after I started eating, I thought, I felt bad. I failed. But hour after I started eating, the word Dean Sir said, Father Moon said, you can go. You can go to the seminary. That gave me such a personal feeling to Father and Mother, always.
Right.
You can, if you really want to talk or reach them, you can.
Yeah.
That changed my whole relationship for all my years. I never could forget that. And I still feel that to this day. Of course, you have to be very well prepared, not just, but thank you for this. This is great to share with you.
Yeah.
So that helped me a lot. And then I went to the seminary and graduated and was sent to California, first to MFT. And then we were assigned to different states.
What's
and I
MFT?
became a state leader.
What's MFT?
Mobile fundraising team. It's kind of training.
Mm-hmm.
Was really, I was a terrible fundraiser.
Okay. Why?
Miserable.
Why?
I was a really, I just didn't have the.
What were you selling?
At that time, we were selling jewelry.
Mm-hmm.
Simple jewelry that
was it useful jewelry, or did you feel?
It was very nice jewelry, and
okay.
it was fun. It was really fun to do that.
So what did you struggle with when you're fundraising?
My result was so poor.
Oh, so you couldn't
people
get
back
to buy.
and they come back for the day and they'd have all this success and wow, it was amazing. And I go, what's wrong with me? I'm trying. I'm not slacking. I was going everywhere, but I think it just didn't have it. And then I got a little better with time, but it was interesting.
So you had all these kind of training experiences.
Yeah, I really learned that, sometimes you have to be denied and then you can break through.
So through those experiences, you felt God was preparing you, raising you.
Oh, yeah. And then I got a big shock with somehow, even though I really got better and better, but I was never a breakthrough person that way.
You didn't stand out in that
Not
field.
Not at all, but the leader there, Mr. Hayashi, somehow, felt I really had potential.
Is that because you were a dental student?
No, he did.
Just kidding.
He did. I see.
So he felt you had. I was wondering how long you could play that card. By the way, Father, I am a dental student. So yeah, where did things take a big turn for you?
Well, right at that time, suddenly 12 people were pulled out of the MFT after only 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
And we were all assigned to the different states. And then I was sent to Texas. Mm-hmm. And I started in Texas as a pastor there. And I was, had all these great visions. Well, we're going to do things different now. I'm going to really develop this and that.
So you're pastoring a church in Texas?
Yeah.
Where?
In Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texas. And how many members?
One.
You?
No, two. Two with me.
Two with you. And you're planting a church in Austin.
No, it had been a pretty good sized church before. John Dorowski had bought the building.
Oh, okay.
And it was a big fraternity house.
Okay.
Many bedrooms, and that was a great experience. But when I got there, I thought, man, we're going to do things differently now. Uh-huh. So, I'd like to see the bank account. And then suddenly reality hit. The bank account had very little money, and it means we had to get out there and make money and raise funds for the church. So we did.
Wow.
We learned a lot. We
Wow.
learned a lot at that time. That
Wow.
was not simple. But I also had experience of teaching there because some of the rooms were rented out to students. And one room had two sisters there. They're wonderful people. They both joined the church. So my first experience of teaching was there in that living room of teaching a new student.
You were teaching the residents.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So it was nice. I was shocked because I wasn't a good teacher, but I just started reading out of the book and just started teaching.
Because you say you weren't a good teacher because you were just beginning.
Yeah. First time.
Okay.
I mean, I taught people in the other settings, but it was like, teach a lecture and then go on. I taught her the whole principle, and she really liked it.
I'm sure it's funny for people who know you to hear you mentioning that, you struggled on MFT, or the first time you're going to, church leader experience your first experience is a struggle, and then you're teaching. I'm sure most people that know you wouldn't imagine seeing you that way, but that's the reality with whatever you do.
For all of us, right? We got to
start raw.
That. Yeah.
And that's really where you learn a lot, right?
And this person that was there was a fine man. He was really a good man. He's a great, great person. And he was just so happy I came. He said, now we can get going.
You mean your member?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And Patrick Hickey was the leader in Houston.
Okay.
Texas was divided into two state districts.
Okay.
And he was doing very well. So we worked together a lot. It was good. But then with this young man that we were working together, he's so excited.
Mm-hmm.
But then the thrill is gone after a while. Suddenly, we're working together, raising funds.
It's hard.
And he gets this idea that we can do a painting company. If we can do a painting company, we can make a lot more money. And he said,
start a business.
I said, great. That's a great idea. I did a lot of painting as I was in college, summertime for business. So, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. He goes, well, let's start it. I said, well, okay, let's talk about it some more. Anyway, I finally said no. And he said, I never forget him saying to me before this discussion on painting that, I could never be disunited with you. And I felt this feeling like, a curse was just created because I'll never be disunited with you, or I'll never be apart from you.
He said that to you?
He said that in the heart. He was very sincere. We were really bonding together, doing the work. People were coming over. But when he said that, I felt, oh, gosh.
A burden or?
No, just scared.
I see.
You claim I'll never.
Yeah,
You can't get me.
I see.
I was innocent, but I felt something like, oh, my gosh, better be careful.
Interesting.
And then I said no to the painting. Phew. Immediately, he was in hell. He was in hell. No matter what we did, there was no joy.
It didn't work.
He was just dragging along.
It didn't work.
Yeah, it didn't work. It was terrible.
Why do you think that happened?
Well, because, I think it was meant to happen. You have to work through those kinds of ups and downs. So, and I tried everything. We did many things together to, study. We studied a little bit here and there, but brought people over. But then he was such a good person. He didn't want to be like this. So one night we came home and he goes, why am I so angry? Mm-hmm. And why am I so, I know you're a good person. You're not trying to do anything but what's right. What's the problem?
Mm-hmm.
And, that was really helpful for me because I said, it's in the principle. And the thing that changed my life earlier when I was in the seminary was I had doubts for the first year as a Christian. I still had nagging doubts. I believe, but then all of a sudden I didn't feel like I could sell out for it. I didn't feel something wasn't clear. Right. So I was lucky because in the seminary you could study. So I studied the principle all the way through and I took the whole principle, went through every section and went through it with the Bible. So I
Yeah.
read every Bible verse in the principle.
Right.
And it was the Jacob Esau story that really solidified my faith,
Why?
because I could see the Bible really shows that's really a true story, that Jacob loved and sacrificed for Esau and won his heart. That's amazing.
So you're referencing your relationship in Austin with this brother.
Exactly.
Enjoyed
All of
the
a sudden
brothers.
it was like that. Suddenly all my doubts and fears in the seminary went away, just completely. Because as a Christian, you still, well, Christians don't think this is right. And we were in dialogue with Christians in the seminary, and we get in little tense situations. But anyway, that study of Jacob and Esau with the Bible, and I read all the different, people didn't know about that. The theologians didn't address that.
What did you think was there? What did you find there that
The
you hadn't
secret
understood?
of bringing unity between enemies.
Okay.
The secret of bringing unity between enemies.
What is the secret?
Well, you have to, remove the four fallen natures. And I could share that with Ed, the young man in Texas. I could share, this is why we're going through this. You have to see your leader from God's point of view. You have to receive God's love from the leader. You have to, also obey the leader, and you have to reverse the negative side and multiply the good side.
So
we went through all that, and suddenly, it was like somebody who had a 10,000-pound burden. He's like, I don't know why I'm struggling like this. And then suddenly he just goes, oh my God. I understand. It's not about you and me. It's about what we're going through. We're trying to build something, and that's a foundation to receive the Messiah. That's the whole thing.
So he had studied these principles.
Yeah.
But it was another thing to
experience
it. And I guess what I hear you describing is, in order to make an impact in the world, in order to revive, restore, awaken humanity beyond all of these conflicts, we need to rebuild our relationship with God and one another. And it's all relational. And we struggle you're talking about a very simple thing. You're trying to build a church together. You need to bring in some money. And he's got a great idea, a no-brainer idea. Let's make a painting company. You have experience. And you could have said yes, and you would have just done it, and probably would have made money. But for some reason, you said no. And also, you mentioned that you felt something. There was a hook in his heart with this sort of maybe overzealous mind of never being able to be broken in heart from you. But this one little thing,
exactly,
worked like a condition or a test on him.
Yeah.
And so that test forced him to go one way or the other. And what you're saying is, by him just realizing that it wasn't you, but it was something that was testing his heart, that little light opened the way for him to realize and let go of otherwise this energy that's just stuck to him and burdening him.
And I was in the same position. That little light came on for me too.
So you were uplifted.
You're in hell when you don't have
unity,
resonance with the person that you love, care for.
Right.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, so we've heard so much. I think I know you, and I've heard some of these stories, but definitely not all of it. And we're only just up to your first church plant. So I think if you don't mind, I think we got to turn this conversation into a two-parter. So that means we're gonna continue, but for now, I just want to say thank you for being a part of the Peace Starts With Me podcast.
Thank you.
And do you know the secret to happiness? Do you believe that you, through all of this, have discovered the secret to peace and happiness?
I do believe I know the secret to happiness.
So if we have you back for a second half, will you tell us the secret to happiness or what you've learned?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So if you want to find out, join us for the second part of this. Thank you so much, Dr. Jenkins. You're awesome.
Oh, thank you.
My brother, I love you, Mom. Thank you so much.
Wow.
All right.
Thank you.